The original purpose of this project was to make the wake and sleep cycles of the creation visually more easily understood, and it developed from there. What is the creation? It is not a god or creator, not some male figure. It is absolutely genderless, an it power, both positive and negative, in complete equalizedness, in neutral form. Its power and wisdom are the mightiest and most immense in its own space-time structure. However, it must continuously evolve. It is bound to the laws and recommendations of a higher power might consciousness, the Ur-creation, which created the creation out of its idea. The Ur-creation is further bound to the laws and recommendations of a higher power might consciousness, which pulses through all creation forms and exists in the highest form of all Seins, namely in the Absolute Absolutum. The creation, or universal consciousness, or whatever name one chooses to call it, is the power and might of all life in the entire universe, which, at the same time, is the creation itself. The creation is the universe, the stars, and the life of all flora and fauna, and all life, the becoming and the passing away. The creation is existing and pulsating in all life and even in the death, which only represents another dimension form of life. Our creation is the lowest form of all creations. It has the lowest swinging waveform, hence it creates material life forms. It is the least old, the least developed, and at the beginning of its evolution. It possesses the lowest knowledge of all creation forms, and, as with all creation forms, it has to evolve from the lowest to the highest knowledge and absolute wisdom to the highest creation form, the Absolute Absolutum. Our creation is at the very beginning of its evolution. Within a certain time period, it has to perfect itself to the highest possible level, whereby it returns to a state of slumber. Here now is a view of the current expansion and contraction period of our creation, which is now approximately 46 trillion years old. It will continue to expand for a total of 155.52 trillion years, whereby it will then contract for the same amount of time. To note is that only during this first expansion period are material and spiritual forms created. The time duration of the first wake cycle from the moment of the Big Bang is equal to one great time, after which point the creation enters into a state of slumber for an equal period of time. Prior to the Big Bang, the creation has to enter a pre-birth phase equal to 3 great times, after which point it begins its first wake-sleep cycle. Only in the first half of the first wake cycle are material and spiritual forms created. Having completed the first wake-sleep phase, the creation now begins the second wake-sleep phase. Only this time, it is 7 times longer in duration than the first wake-sleep phase. The same process of always increasing 7-fold is repeated for all further wake-sleep phases. With the exception of the first wake phase, all further states are of a pure spiritual nature. However, the density of the spirit energy varies and constantly becomes finer through the course of evolution, which it has to go through according to the original eternal laws of the Absolute Absolutum. Once it has reached the end of its current creation phase, after 7 wake and 7 sleep cycles, it then enters into the next highest creation form, namely the Ur-creation. Units of time go beyond human comprehension. These immeasurable time spans are irrelevant in the system of the Absolute Absolutum, because the duration and space of the Absolute Absolutum is of absolute endlessness in every respect. Upon completion of the 7th wake-sleep phase, the Ur-creation proceeds to the central creation. Only in the first wake phase is the creation now capable to generate a creative might thought in the form of an idea to create a new creation, which then, out of itself and out of its own creation power, must create and birth itself, supported only through the impulse of the idea and its power from out of the creation. An creation is capable to create an impulse of an idea for up to 49 creations. In our case, we have a twin universe named the Dal universe, which nestles next to our universe, called the Dern universe. As parallel creations of twin form, the same conditions and requirements exist there for both. However, they remain completely independent in the being and in the evolution. The wake and sleep periods proceed over humanly incomprehensible time-space. This process is repeated over and over again from creation form to creation form up until the absolute absolutum. Except for the lowest form of creation, all of the creation forms are of a purely spiritual nature. The number of each of the individual creation forms is humanly unfathomable, which means that for each creation form, there is an unending, unlimited number existing of that individual creation type. In the old writings, the creation was explained as being the unfathomable mystery. Yet, in the meantime, it is no more so, because thanks to the level of Arhat Atharsata, this mystery for the human being has become unraveled, and the truth about it has been made apparent to all those who trouble themselves for the truth of the creation and are willing to recognize and grasp this truth. Nevertheless, for the human being, everything lies in an unmeasurable secret. Known by those that know is only that the first creation form evolves to the creation, and that this then develops to the central creation, etc., during which the spirit form energy and the spirit forms are ever more of a finer material form which, according to human concept, is simply not comprehensible nor graspable anymore. This refinement process of evolutive form of the spirit energy purifies itself in a 7 by 7 increasing form over all 10 to the power 49 creation forms, right up to the absolute purity of the absolute Sohar form in the endless Sein of the Sein Absolutum. This highest, most brilliant, and finest material spirit energy of the Sein Absolutum is, however, corresponding to a likewise unmeasurable mystery, as is the riddle of the existence of the Sein Absolutum itself, and the endless beginning and the endless end, and the endless culmination point of the Sein Absolutum, not to mention the never began beginning of the existence of the Sein Absolutum, and the never been and yet all-timely permanent and existing existence of the absolute Seinless, that in complete meaninglessness and empty since always is filled with the Sein and life of the all-encompassing and all into itself harboring of the Sein Absolutum, which is the most absolute of all absolutes, and in its original all-timely existence means the beginning and the end of all things, which, however, harbors in itself an ever-enduring beginning and an ever-enduring end, which is without boundaries. The Sein Absolutum, therefore, also represents the unmeasurable mystery not only for the human being, however, also for the creation of the material life, as well as all other creation forms of 10 to the power 49.